let's take a look around and see what I have got myself in for here. We are amazed by the engineering underneath this car and the suspension setup. Pretty awesome. If you've never taken a look underneath a Volvo, I highly recommend it. In this video, I'm going to be talking about everything that's wrong and that needs to be fixed with my Volvo XC70X ambulance. Now, aside from the glitter paint job and the ambulance stickers, there are some fundamental problems that I need to fix with this car before it will be deemed roadworthy. This car does not have a valid MOT. It failed its MOT because of an ABS warning light on the dash. I've also subsequently discovered that it is not driving in four-wheel drive, so I need to find out why that is. One or a number of these rear parking sensors are not working. There are holes in the roof that need to be properly sealed. That is where the sirens and lights were previously fitted. There are also missing pieces of trim. There are also missing pieces of trim on the interior. And there's a few bits and pieces that are broken and are going to need to be replaced. It also needs a jolly good clean. There's also a problem with the engine shaking when it starts up. So I suspect that it also has some worn engine mounts that are going to need to be replaced. So let's get stuck into it and get all of this done. The biggest problem is down here where the ABS sensor securing bolt had sheared off, and because of that the ABS sensor wasn't registering properly with the reluctor ring, which was throwing up the error for the anti-skid. And hopefully with that sorted it will get rid of the fault. Just have a look at that extension. How much travel is there? I mean, this is on jack stands and the tires are still touching the ground. It's unbelievable. Well, the next task is to remove that front CV joint, which is the broken one. The shaft is completely separated from the CV joint. Unfortunately, it doesn't just want to pull directly out, which would have been pretty useful. So we've dropped the exhaust, thankfully without having to take it apart, and we are now removing the little 8mm Allen bolts from the rear diff over here so that we can drop the whole Propshaft down. This is the rear diff. Now we've removed the 6 Allen head bolts that bolt through from this little cup here into this stub axle, and we just could not get this thing to separate. These two are fused together. The secret to getting these apart is that there are a couple of holes that are threaded in from the back here, and then you tighten this bolt up and it forces these two apart. And you can see I can't get a ring on there, unlike Beyonce. So what you have to do is you have to do it like this, slowly, slowly, and there you have it. That is the rear CV joint of the prop shaft, now separated from the diff. Oh, it's off! Look, it's off! Oh, magical! This is the end of the prop shaft where the broken CV joint is. All the ball bearings have been removed, and on the end of this there is a circlip that you can just make out here that holds this in place. Right, let's see, can we get this off?
There we go. Let's clean this up as much as we can. Oh, there's some movement there. And could it be that it's going to be that easy? It is! It's going to be that easy! It's on film! It happened!
Interesting. So that's all fine. The spline is okay. So what actually broke?
It looks like somehow the ball bearings separated from this carrier.
Okay.
It looks, well, you know, this looks a bit mangled.
Yeah.
You can see it's broken there.
It's off. Yeah. Okay.
So, whatever caused it, who knows? The consequence of it was, it is foobarred. The one last thing that we need to check is how many splines are on this shaft.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We don't know where we started.
I was just wondering about that.
Okay, so we've got a mark. "19 splines. Time for a beer." What I have here is the replacement CV joint from Pascali. And unlike buying this from Volvo, which would have cost £427, this one cost me £45. Comes with CV joint grease, a nice new CV joint cap, the clips, the CV joint, as well as some rubber gaskets. Cool. This is the CV joint. It doesn't come packed, which is why it comes with that grease, which is quite nice. CV joint and cap on now. I tapped it on with a rubber mallet and a block of wood. This is quite a snug fit. I preheated it with my heat gun, and then I used a 27mm socket to fit over the shaft and nicely onto the inner CV joint piece over there, that inner race, and then tap that on with the use of a hammer. And it is far enough on now, I think, for me to fit the new circlip in place. There we go. I've got the little gasket in the back there. Obviously that needs to line up with the bolts that will be inserted from the rear. I am now going to fill that with grease. So that's now nice and chocker full of grease, and then I'm using some old CV joint bolts just to make sure that the rubber gasket stays in the right place. This little bolt secures the center propshaft bearing to the center support. Somehow I managed to misplace one of those, but the guys at Volvo were very helpful in getting these. These bolts were £2 something each. You can get them off eBay for double that price, but it's always worth phoning the parts department at a manufacturer for these kinds of things, because you are still able to get them for a reasonable price. That is a lesson I learned with the Porsche 944. I'm going to use this electric wrench in place of this socket wrench. It's going to be pretty nice to get up into the transmission tunnel, push the button, and do the bolts up. Nice. And that is the last bolt in the front CV joint done. Just need to bolt down the propshaft center support bearing. Whoa! Don't lose your 10mm socket. That's the center bearing bolted down. Let me show you. That's the center bearing over there. and the center support bracket, which is held in place by these 4 bolts, 2 on either side. And at the back we've got the rear differential with the Heldex system at the back there, and that is where I'm going to be installing the brand new bolts that I got from Volvo. There you go, all done. Now I just need to torque them up. Okay, well they're torqued up to 14 Newton meters at the moment, but I want to crank them up to 50. I can't find the exact figure, but there seems to be a lot of talk about 50 Newton meters for these CV bolts. Now, just to do that exhaust, mount that back up, so I'm going to get the big trolley jack underneath there to help raise it up into place and then bolt the sucker down. Now the offending engine mount is this one over here at the top, and you can see how easily this engine mount moves, and that is the easiest engine mount removal in history. So you can see that this is much more secure than this one. So that should hopefully solve that issue. There's the new upper rear engine mount fitted. However, what it has revealed is that because that one was worn, it appears as if these 2 side mounts are worn more than I had thought as well. Easiest bush replacement job ever. Getting to the point where we can actually drop the car off the jack stands, take it for an MOT, because I think the mechanic work is now done. Stick around, watch the series, see how this progresses with my Volvo XC70 not ambulance. Thanks for watching, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button because there's lots more coming about this and other cars. Happy days!